Welcome to the Breath of God. This is a YouTube channel dedicated to studying the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. In the last 30 days, we've reached over 17,000 people with the gospel of Jesus. And in the last few days, we've reached over 33,000 people with the gospel of Jesus. Because of the growth, I put a secure online link to give to this online ministry at the top of my YouTube page. And I am looking for the support of 3 partners that can each give $3,000 each for the ongoing operations here at the Breath of God. And now, our teaching. The end time harvest and the 3 fall feast. So this is going to cover the book of Revelation, and it's going to connect the feast of the Jews. So I'm going to read some verses real quick. So first is Revelation 1:1, the revelation of Jesus Christ. So the book of Revelation is the revelation of Jesus. This means the unveiling of Jesus. So you see Jesus unveiled 3 times distinctly in the book of Revelation. You see Jesus is unveiled or revealed as ruling and reigning from the throne of heaven. And then second, you see Jesus revealed as ruling and reigning on earth. And then third, you see Jesus ruling and reigning over the new creation. So 3 unveilings of Jesus Christ. I also want to read Genesis chapter 8, verse 22, which reads, "As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest will never cease." So there's a season of the seed time, and that's in the spring, and the harvest. And these times and seasons, according to the Word of God, will continue as long as the earth endures in its current state. We see that finally wrapped up at the end of the book of Revelation in chapter 22. So, first, the revelation of Jesus Christ. That is Revelations chapters 1 through 5. And as you see, these first sections of Revelation are directed to the church. And then you finally find in Revelation chapter 4, the voice that was speaking to John, like a trumpet, says, "Come up here." So, that is an indication of the rapture, which is also found in the Feast of Trumpets, which is the feast that no one knows the day or the hour. So Christ will first reveal himself through the feast in a series of events, which will begin with the rapture of the church. And the rapture of the church is the first of the 3 fall harvest. So God is going to first harvest his church. And then there'll be a period of time, at least 7 years, of which there will be great tribulation. And Israel will finally cry out to Jesus as their Messiah. And as the nations surround them, Jesus will come out of heaven with his church, except they went up as a bride, but they are coming back as warriors with the Lord leading the way, and he will come to save Israel and then establish his rule over the earth from David's throne for 1,000 years. And that's known as the millennial reign of Christ. But this, it's easy to miss, is about harvest. He came to harvest his people, Israel. Israel going all the way back to Genesis chapter 12, are God's chosen people. God made a covenant with their father Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and so on. And he is coming for his nation Israel, and all Israel shall be saved. And then at the end of the millennial reign, there'll be a final rebellion. The Lord will release the serpent from the pit, which will give the nations the chance to choose. Who do they choose? Do they choose Christ, who they've seen on earth ruling and reigning from Israel for 1,000 years, or do they choose the serpent? So there will be a harvest of the nations. So some nations will choose Christ and others will not. They will join in the serpent's rebellion, and that will be crushed quickly. And then the Lord will bring forth a new heaven and a new earth, and a new Jerusalem will come down out of heaven. And it's the nations that chose Christ. He's coming for the nations. And you see this even in chapter 21 of the book of Revelations. It says, the nations will walk by its light, thus referring to the new Jerusalem. And kings will bring their splendor into it. Christ first harvests his church. Then he comes to harvest the nation Israel, and then the harvest of the nations. And that fulfills the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, and the Feast of Tabernacles. Remember, the Feast of Tabernacles is about God dwelling with his people. And you find in those final chapters in the book of Revelation that the dwelling of God will be with men. That means the tabernacle of God will be with men. And they will worship him and dwell with him forever. So that's the connections to the threefold revelation of Jesus in the book of Revelations. The three major events, the rapture, the millennium, and the new heavens and new earth. And that's connection to the three fall feasts, which are the feast in which there's a harvest. I hope you enjoyed this teaching at the Breath of God. And I hope you check these things out and find out if what I am saying is so. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And remember, his breath is our calling.